I'm trying not to compartmentalize. I'd rather the burn be everywhere except exactly where it's at. I'd love to spread this out a little bit, man, but I can't. It's getting hotter.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? For First We Feast, I'm Sean Evans, and you're watching Hot Ones. It's the show with hot questions and even hotter wings. And today we're joined by Dustin the Diamond Poirier. He's the number one ranked UFC lightweight, fresh off his win against Conor McGregor at UFC 257. He does amazing work with his foundation, The Good Fight, and his fate would have it, he also has a hot sauce, Poirier's Louisiana style. For my money, the best new sauce of the year. Dustin Poirier, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. A longtime fan and spice lover as well.
How do you think you'll do today? What is your headspace like going into this 10-win gauntlet?
I'm focused. I'm prepared. I put in the work these last 31 years, and I think I can do it. Let's do it. That's good.
Might taste familiar. It's in that Louisiana style.
Right. It's got a little vinegar. Not too spicy.
Yep.
I like it.
So when Ronda Rousey was on the show, one of the things I found most fascinating about our conversation is her profound understanding of the human body and which ligaments and joints are most vulnerable. Thinking back on your last fight, what is it about the cumulative effect of calf kicks that makes them so devastating?
I've been on both sides of the calf kick game, and it's very painful because the swelling has nowhere to go. The way your calf is constructed, the swelling can't spread throughout the rest of your leg. It stays compartmentalized in the calf, and it affects the nerves in your foot. It's called compartment syndrome. You can actually lose the use of your foot. When I had it done to me in New York a few years back, I went to the hospital. They wanted to cut me open to relieve the pressure inside of my leg, and it's painful, man. It's bad stuff.
What is the most painful submission technique in your experience?
The most painful? I don't like leg stuff, man. Heel hooks, knee bars, anything with the legs, it just feels too funky for me. Oh, that's good, man. I like this one.
Yeah, it might be my favorite in the lineup this year, actually.
Wow. That's good stuff.
So I noticed that the first thing that you asked for on your return home from Louisiana from Abu Dhabi was king cake, and it seems like the locals really came through for you. For those outside of the bayou, how do you explain king cake, and why is it so popular this time of year?
It's always around Mardi Gras. It's always around the beginning of the year. It's king cake, man. It's a special. It's kind of like a donut, a huge donut cake filled with cream cheese or chocolate, but it's Louisiana all the way, man. And I knew it was king cake time, and I was out in Abu Dhabi, and I was just craving food because I was cutting weight, and I was just thinking about king cakes.
And then I know that your new Louisiana-style hot sauce, it just is the tip of the iceberg when it comes for your love of Cajun cuisine. Does Chef Poirier have a signature dish? Like, if you had a cookbook, what would be the meal that's on the front cover?
Dang, dude, I got so many. I love a good gumbo, man. I love making my own roux and sitting in front of a pot with the beer, stirring it. And it's gumbo season right now. You know, it's a little chilly outside. It's perfect time for gumbo. Everybody comes over when you cook a gumbo. It brings the family together. And I love that. So I would do a good gumbo on there. Slightly bit spicier.
So I'm a big fan of your appearances on legendary boxing trainer Teddy Atlas's podcast because it really shows the side of you that's a student of fighting and at the heart really just a fan of combat sports. Is there a vet who you'd say took you under their wing or showed you the ropes when you were first starting out?
There's two that come to mind that really helped me out a lot in my career. Is Tim Crater, Louisiana's first jiu-jitsu black belt, and another one is the Grand Master of Thug Jitsu, Eve Edwards.
Of all of your UFC opponents, who pound for pound has the heaviest strikes?
Conor McGregor is the heaviest handed guy I've ever fought. And I knew that going into this last one. So I had a good awareness, and that was 6 years ago, but you don't forget those kind of things.
Besides Conor, who's the most savage trash talker?
Dude, it's gotta be Chael Sonnen. When he was at his prime,
he could zing.
Running his mouth, he was selling pay-per-views.
Who would you describe as the most complete fighter you've ever faced?
At the time, I would say Korean Zombie. When I fought him back in, I think 2012 maybe, he was probably the most complete guy that I've run into up to that point.
Who's your favorite fighter to watch in the women's division?
Amanda Nunes. I really like watching Amanda Nunes, pound for pound GOAT, but I got to give some respect to my girl, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She's a beast, man. Such a savage.
What's the most unique octagon entrance you've ever seen?
If we're talking about the UFC, probably Tom Lawler. He's done some crazy stuff. But there's this one guy I've heard about in New Jersey who played the Price is Right theme song and then he was in the audience. People didn't know. Stood up and had a name tag on and out of the audience to the cage.
That's amazing.
He came like, come on down. A little spicier here.
Mm-hmm. So when you reach the pinnacle of a sport like you have, there's oftentimes a lot of folklore surrounding the difficult road that it took to get there. I've heard you say that some of your amateur fights had non-standard rules. What did you mean by that, and can you give us an example?
I've fought amateur fights where they ask, everybody raise their hand if you want to be allowed to throw elbows tonight. And it's amateur fighting. You shouldn't be allowed to throw elbows. But we're fighting at a rodeo arena. I mean, dude, everybody's coming back to the locker room, split open, stitches everywhere. Everybody's busted open. These kids just aren't at that level, and they're allowing us to throw elbows. Or I've been to events where the same thing, we go to the rules meeting, and they say, a couple fights fell off of the card, so these fights aren't going to be 3-minute rounds, they're going to be 5-minute rounds. So now you're fighting 5-minute amateur rounds. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, and seeing that documentary Fightville, that is one of the scenes that stands out is you doing these shows in rodeo arenas and warming up in the horse stalls. And, sometimes I'll talk to wrestlers about their early years or comedians about their early years, and MMA fighters, it's kind of the same struggle. Can you give me one thing that you miss about those days and then another thing that you don't miss at all? Like one high and one low.
One high for sure is all my family and friends from Louisiana can drive to the event. Now I'm fighting across the world and not too many people can make it. I really miss that, having everybody there. One of the things I don't miss is shady promoters, man. There's some slime balls in this business and you got to chase them for your money and checks bounce or you break your hand and they don't cover the medicals. It's a slimy business. Smoky flavor, I like that.
All right, Dustin, we have a recurring segment on our show called Explain That Gram, where we do a deep dive on our guest's Instagram, pull interesting pictures that need more context. I'll show you the picture. You just tell us the bigger story. And first things first, it's you and fellow Hot Ones alum and Louisiana legend Theo Vaughn. Has hanging out with the Rat King inspired you at all to maybe start your own podcast or anything like that?
It has, man. It has. He came out to South Florida this last training camp when I was preparing for Conor McGregor. And we did a podcast, like a little makeshift podcast inside of a strength and conditioning facility I was working out at. And I told him, dude, I would love to start a podcast and break down fights and talk about fights. And he thought it was a great idea. So yeah, he's definitely inspired me to get behind the mic and camera and put some content out there.
And then on the other side of it, I know that he's been training a little bit. What is the Rat King's most impressive quality in the gym?
He started training when he moved to Nashville. And I know he's doing jiu-jitsu. He's doing a lot of gi jiu-jitsu. So I would love to find out, actually.
All right, up next, here's a post-fight vibe check after your win over Dan Hooker. Who in your career, when you think back, what has been the worst morning after bangover?
The bangover, dude. Correct. When I fought Justin Gaethje out in Arizona, he partially tore my quad. So I couldn't really walk. Getting on the flight, I guess the elevation or whatever made my legs swell so much I couldn't bend my knee. I was just walking around with my leg was like a big link of sausage, bro. I'm dragging it around. I can't move it. It's shiny. It's red. That hurt.
And then last but not least, here you are with a hell of a plate. How would you describe the significance of the crawfish boil in Acadian culture?
This is like doing family reunions every weekend whenever it's crawfish season. You know, everybody comes over, everybody brings something, and we all gather around a table outside. We boil the crawfish, pour them over the table, drink beers, tell stories. It's just such a great time. And things like that is part of the reason me and my wife moved back to Louisiana when my daughter was born, because I could not take that from her childhood. Feeling strong, man. Got like a little bitter bite there.
So the psychology of fighting is a topic of endless fascination. Can you explain what you mean by finding the calm in the chaos? Because I think for most people, instinct on that kind of confrontation is almost the exact opposite.
You know, you hear in your corner screaming, the crowd's going crazy. You see the boss there. This is nice here, yeah. But in that moment, that's what I enjoy most about fighting. When I think about fights and stuff, it gives me anxiety. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. But what I enjoy the most is walking through the fire and being put in that position. That's where I feel comfortable. The world slows down and nothing else matters but that moment. And it's a special time. It's the realest thing you can do is hand-to-hand combat in the moment with someone trying to take you out. I love it.
Staying on the topic of athlete psychology, you know, according to a 2013 study by psychology professor Michael Krauss, fighters who smile in their weigh-in stare-down are more likely to lose than ones who don't. How much stock do you put into that pre-fight stare-down face-off? Like, does it matter at all?
To me, I don't think it does, because everybody's different, right? One fighter might be, you know, covering something up, trying to put on a front, smiling like he's tough, but he's really terrified, scared out of his mind. One guy might be really smiling because he loves the chaos. It's hard to tell, man. I don't take anything from those stare-downs.
Who's the craftiest fighter you've ever faced when it comes to the dark arts of playing mind games?
Conor McGregor, the first time I fought him, 100%, no doubt about it. The art of war was on full display. He might have beat me before the fight started, man. Talked about Louisiana, talked about my family, talked about my skill set, whatever he could say. I was a young fighter at the time, and I just thought about everything he said too much. Then I would read comments, and I would read articles of what critics and media are saying and stuff like that. And as I matured in the sport, I realized I just got to focus on what I can control. Let's dive in, man.
Let's dive in.
Oh, yeah. Immediately. I'm going in again.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, this is definitely a step up. Big time.
Wait till you try the next one.
I have before.
I won't mention any names because it's probably beneath you to address it in any specific way, but I am curious about your thoughts when it comes to these YouTuber boxing matches. There does seem to be two schools of thought. You know, those who think that the excitement around these events is good for the sport, and then the other school of thought being that this is a total embarrassment to boxing. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
Right, if you're selling pay-per-views, it's entertainment, but at the same, this one's hot, man.
Yep.
I think I poured too much on this one.
It looks like it.
I know the instructions told me to measure. I did not. I'm going to be honest. If you're selling pay-per-views and you're in the business of making money, it's entertainment. I understand that, so I know why these guys are getting pushed and all this stuff. But if you're a true boxing fan, I see on that side as well why you don't want these guys to be representing a sport that you love, or the casual fans out there, when they talk about combat sports, you don't want them to think of somebody who's misrepresenting people who've worked their whole entire lives to master a craft that very few do, you know. But it's business. I understand what's going on.
When you see like internet clout monsters cutting these WWE style promos against like actual elite professional fighters, does that cross a line to you, or is that just something that goes with the territory these days?
It crosses the line to me because I'm one of these guys who can really scrap. I wish that these guys would get the fights that they're calling for and get in there with real opponents, and then we see who's talking after. Let's go, man. I'm feeling it. Oh, man.
Right away. Vile.
Oh. I got some milk over here, but I'm not touching it, dude.
Do you still watch Food Network when you're cutting? That sounds like torture.
Yes, I do. I went on a marathon of guys' grocery games, training camp. I probably watched 3 seasons.
I've heard that you are trying to go after your own food show. Do you have an elevator pitch while you die on the bomb? Because, when you're ready to go, you might have a home here at First We Feast.
I got it here. Food fight with Dustin Poirier. We go to different cities. I check out a couple local gyms. I train with the guys there. Then we go to local restaurants. I get in the kitchen, cook a little bit, hear about their story. Food fight, Diamante, boom.
I'm sold. Schoenberger, Order the Run, 20 episodes, out the gate.
Put the stamp. My eyes watering. I'm starting to sweat. I'm trying not to compartmentalize. I'd rather the burn be everywhere except exactly where it's at. I'd love to spread this out a little bit, man, but I can't. It's getting hotter. I'm trying my best to be tough right now, man. Yeah. I don't even taste the flavor. It's just burn. The flavor is burn.
Right, just straight fire.
Yeah.
So I know that one of the ways that you used to unwind between fights back in the day was you joined a bowling league in your native Louisiana. If you don't mind me asking, what's your average score?
I was average about 165. I know it's not the best, but it's an average. That's my average. The camaraderie of just a bunch of guys that work all week and can't wait to be off of work, finally go to the bowling alley, get some beers down, knock some pins down, and have some fun, man. It's just good friendship, good camaraderie. Kind of the same thing that I started going to jiu-jitsu gyms for, obviously to learn how to fight and get better, but then I realized that I enjoy being around these guys. When I'm not choking them, we have good conversation. Let's go, man. Do I have to dab it?
Oh, you know what? I like that because the show. Usually on these quarantine episodes, I hold off because it's so clumsy to try to do it, and everybody's already over saucing. But Dustin, since you know the show, let's do it. Bringing it back.
Don't shorten me, Sean. Do not shorten me on this experience.
I would never. This is the last dab. We call it the last dab because it's tradition around here to put a little extra on the last one. You don't have to if you don't want to. There it is, Dustin. Cheers. What a run.
Oh, yeah.
Deep, extremely peppery.
Through the nostrils it burns. And instantly my cheeks start sweating.
So here we are at the end of our 10-round bout against the Wings of Death. And there's only one obstacle left in the way before the final bell. I'm so proud of you making this hot sauce that is so distinctly you. in the Louisiana style, and even working with Heartbeat, which is one of the great makers. So now that you have a sauce that's distinctly you, I want to play a hot sauce name association game where I'll call out a couple of these bottles and you just tell me the first fighter it reminds you of, okay? A mild sauce like the classic, the first one that we tried.
The mild sauce like a classic. A classic sauce is one you can use every day. Frankie Edgar is a fighter's fighter. You can always trust him. Trust on him.
What about this 7 spot, the Torchbearer Honey Badger?
The Honey Badger. A buddy of mine named Jake Hume, the Honey Badger, actually. Unpredictable and wild, man, just like this sauce.
The Bomb Beyond Insanity.
The Bomb Beyond Insanity. Mike Perry, because he's insane.
And then finally, the one we just had, Last Dab Apollo.
Last Dab Apollo, let's go with Conor McGregor. This is that one-hitter quitter. All you need is one drop.
Put the Hot Ones strap on Dustin Poirier, taking on the Wings of Death and living to tell the tale. And now there's nothing left to do but roll out the red carpet for you, my friend. This camera, that camera, let the people know what you have going on in your life.
I have The Good Fight Pound. Check it out at thegoodfightgroup.com. We're currently crowdfunding for the Project Learn initiative with the Boys and Girls Club. We're doing some big things in Louisiana and across the world. And also, Poirier's Louisiana style hot sauce. It's great. It's true to a Louisiana hot sauce, but there's layers of flavor. You got to check it out.
Great job, Dustin. Great job.
I'm hurting, man. I'm hurting over here. It's about how I thought it would be at the beginning, smooth sailing. But when we get here, this area, if you're not careful with the dousing of the sauce, you're gonna pay for it, and that's where I'm paying for it.
Hey, what's going on, Hot Ones fans? This is Sean Evans checking in to say thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed it, maybe like it, maybe throw us a subscribe even if you're feeling generous. And as long as you keep watching, fuck it, I'll keep eating.